Somewhere right now, a wicking bed is failing, and the gardener who built it can't see why. The tomato leaves are turning yellow. Growth has stalled. After rain, a strange smell rises from the soil, and the frustrating part is that the bed was built correctly. Every tutorial was followed. Every step was done right. But wicking beds fail from the inside out. The damage happens in hidden layers of soil, gravel, and water, deep below the surface where nobody ever looks. This is the story of what goes wrong down there. 5 hidden failure modes, 5 ways the science turns against the garden. And the last one contradicts almost everything gardeners believe about these beds. First, a quick look at what makes these systems remarkable in the first place. A wicking bed waters itself from below. A water reservoir sits at the bottom of the raised bed, usually a layer of gravel wrapped in pond liner. Water climbs upward from that reservoir through the soil by capillary action, the same force that pulls coffee up into a sugar cube the moment it touches the surface. When the system works, it's genuinely elegant. The soil stays evenly moist for days. The gardener waters once a week instead of daily, and crops like lettuce and tomatoes flourish on a fraction of the water a normal bed demands. But that entire system rests on physics, biology, and chemistry, all cooperating quietly underground. Disturb any one of them, and the bed turns against its plants while looking perfectly healthy from above. These 5 failure modes run from the most common to the most surprising. And number 5 is the one that catches even veteran gardeners. Number 1. The wrong soil kills the wick. The failure looks baffling from the surface. The top few inches of the raised bed are bone dry, cracked and dusty in the summer sun. Yet the reservoir below is completely full. Tap the fill pipe and the water audibly sloshes. Young seedlings are dying of thirst while sitting directly on top of a private water tank. It feels impossible. It's actually predictable. The culprit is the soil itself. Heavy garden soil, native backyard clay, or bargain topsoil kills capillary action stone dead. The reason lives at a microscopic scale. Water climbs through the tiny gaps between soil particles. Those gaps need to be small enough to grip the water, yet connected enough to form continuous channels running upward from the gravel reservoir to the surface. A quality potting mix, rich with compost, cocoa coir, and little white flecks of perlite, contains millions of these tiny highways. Water travels up them around the clock. Dense clay soil behaves in the opposite way. The bottom of the soil column sits permanently damp above the reservoir, and wet clay compacts. The particles swell, slump together, and seal into a solid waterlogged mass, essentially a brick forming at the base of the garden bed. The water highways collapse into a roadblock. Water sits in the gravel with nowhere to go, while the surface above turns to desert. 2 disasters at once: drought upstairs, swamp downstairs, and the plant roots caught in the middle experience the worst of both worlds. The beds that avoid this fate share one trait. They're filled with a light, porous, growing medium from day one. Quality bagged potting mix works. So does a blend of screened compost, cocoa coir, and perlite or coarse sand. Gardeners sometimes judge a soil by squeezing a moist handful into a ball. Soil that holds its shape like modeling clay will fail in a wicking bed. Soil that crumbles apart at a touch will wick beautifully. Filling an entire raised bed with potting mix costs real money, and that stings. But this is the single component where economizing destroys the whole project. A $50 bed filled with the wrong soil is a $50 failure. The exact budget-friendly soil recipe is a story for the next video in this series. Yet even with perfect, fluffy, porous soil, there's a second way capillary action breaks. And this one is pure physics. Number 2. Water can't climb past 12 inches. This failure mimics the first one almost exactly. Dry, crumbly surface, full reservoir underneath. Except this time the soil is perfect. Light, porous, ideal. and the top of the bed still dries out. The difference isn't the material, it's the height. Water can only wick so high. In most potting mixes, capillary rise tops out around 12 inches, roughly 30 centimeters above the waterline. Beyond that point, gravity wins the fight, and gravity wins every single time. The mechanism is a genuine tug-of-war. Capillary action works because water molecules cling to soil particles and cling to each other, forming an unbroken chain that pulls itself upward through the pore spaces. But every inch of climb means lifting a heavier column of water against gravity. Somewhere around that 12-inch mark, the upward pull of the soil and the downward weight of the water reach a stalemate. The chain stops climbing. The water simply stalls, and every root above that invisible line might as well be growing in a different garden. This limit is not internet folklore. Researchers at the University of South Australia ran controlled glasshouse trials on wicking beds, testing different soil depths and reservoir depths with real tomato crops. Their findings, published in the peer-reviewed journal Horticulturae in 2016, showed that wicking beds matched or even outperformed careful surface watering for water efficiency and yield, but only when soil depth stayed within the wickable range. In deeper builds, the top layer dried out no matter how full the reservoir was. The physics never negotiates, which explains the proportions that successful builds share. A soil layer of 12 inches or less above the reservoir. A gravel reservoir just 6 to 8 inches deep, because a deeper reservoir doesn't wick any better. It only adds weight, wastes gravel, and holds a pool of stagnant water the plants can never reach. A wicking bed is a short, wide system by design. Beds already built too tall aren't hopeless either. Some gardeners add a false bottom that raises the reservoir higher inside the frame. Others simply favor shallow-rooted crops like lettuce and spinach, whose roots live comfortably inside the moist upper zone. With the right soil and the right depth, moisture flows beautifully from gravel to root. But a third failure mode turns all that beautiful moisture into poison. And this one announces itself by smell before anything is visible. Number 3. Rain with nowhere to go. The scene opens after a storm. Heavy rain hammers the garden overnight. A few days later, thriving plants suddenly droop. The lower leaves yellow first, and a few inches down into the wet soil waits an unmistakable odor, rotten eggs mixed with stagnant swamp water. That smell is a message from the soil, and it translates into a single word: suffocation. In a bed without an overflow drain, rainwater has no exit. The reservoir fills, then keeps filling, and the waterline climbs silently up out of the gravel and into the soil layer. Suddenly, the plant roots are underwater. And roots need oxygen, just like animals do. They pull it from the tiny air pockets between soil particles. When floodwater fills those pockets, the roots begin suffocating within days. Cruelly, a drowning plant and a drought-stressed plant look almost identical from above, wilted and limp. Countless gardeners have watched their flooded bed wilt and responded by adding even more water. While the roots suffocate, the soil's living community collapses alongside them. The beneficial microbes that break down compost and feed plants also breathe oxygen. When it runs out, they die off, and a completely different crew inherits the bed. Anaerobic bacteria, organisms that thrive in airless, waterlogged mud. As they feed, they release hydrogen sulfide and other sour, sulfurous compounds. That rotten egg smell rising from a garden bed is, quite literally, the sound of a soil ecosystem being replaced by swamp chemistry. By the way, if this series is changing how you see your garden, hit subscribe. There is a full wicking bed playlist in the works, and the soil mix episode is the one to catch. The defense against all of this is almost embarrassingly simple. Well-designed beds include an overflow pipe, a small hole fitted with PVC through the side wall at the exact height where the gravel ends and the soil begins. With that pipe in place, the reservoir physically cannot rise into the root zone. Rain fills the gravel to the line, and every extra drop escapes out the side. The bed becomes storm-proof. Even beds that have already gone anaerobic usually recover. Once drainage opens and the watering stops for a week or two, oxygen seeps back in, the beneficial microbes rebuild, and the swamp retreats. That humble overflow pipe also enables the solution to the next failure mode. Because even a flawlessly built wicking bed slowly poisons itself in a way almost nobody talks about. Number 4. The bed that salts its own earth. This failure takes an entire season to surface, which is exactly why it escapes notice. The bed is spectacular in spring. Lettuce explodes, tomatoes take off. Then somewhere in late summer, the story changes. New seedlings germinate and stall at an inch tall. Leaf edges on mature plants turn scorched and crispy brown, as if singed by flame. And a white or grayish crust creeps across the soil surface, gathering along the edges of the wooden frame. That white crust is salt. And the wicking bed manufactured it. Every fertilizer contains mineral salts. That is true of synthetic formulas, and equally true of organic inputs, like fish emulsion and manure. Even ordinary tap water carries dissolved minerals. In a conventional garden, rain routinely washes those salts downward, out of the root zone and away into the earth below. But a wicking bed moves water in one direction only, up. Water climbs from the reservoir, arrives at the surface, and evaporates into the air. The minerals that water carried cannot evaporate. They stay behind, exactly where the journey ended. So the top inch of soil becomes a salt collection zone. Month after month, the concentration builds in the precise layer where seeds germinate and feeder roots live. The University of Maryland Extension documents this exact injury in container growing. Excess soluble salts pull water out of plant roots through osmosis, producing that scorched, burned leaf edge. Which leads to a strange botanical paradox. High salt soil can dehydrate a plant sitting in visibly moist ground. The plant is surrounded by water it can no longer drink. The cure sounds completely backwards. The self-watering bed gets watered from the top. Heavily. Experienced growers flood the surface with a hose until water pours freely from the overflow pipe, then keep it flowing a few minutes longer. That downward current sweeps the accumulated salts through the soil, through the gravel, and out of the system entirely. It's an artificial rainstorm for a bed that never feels real rain. Done every month or two through the growing season, more often in hot climates or under heavy feeding, this simple flush resets the chemistry and adds years of productivity. Where crust has already formed, growers typically remove the top inch of soil before flushing, carrying the worst of the salt away with it. At this point, the picture seems complete. The water climbs, the depth is right, the rain drains, the salt washes out. A perfect wicking bed, and that perfect bed will still kill certain plants. The final failure mode is the one that surprises everyone. Number 5. The plants that hate paradise. The scene repeats in gardens everywhere. Lettuce lush and glowing, tomato vines heavy with fruit, and right beside them, in the same bed, a rosemary plant dying. Browning from the base upward, needles dropping, stems blackening at the soil line. Same bed, same soil, same water. Underground, the garlic planted last autumn has dissolved into a soft, rotten bulb. The gardener stares at the bed, hunting for the mistake. But there was no mistake in the build. The mistake was planting a desert species inside a self-watering machine. The entire genius of a wicking bed is constant, even moisture from below. For thirsty, shallow-rooted crops, that is paradise. But consider where Mediterranean herbs actually come from. Rosemary, thyme, sage, lavender, and oregano evolved on dry, rocky, sun-blasted hillsides above the sea, rooted in gritty soil that drains within minutes. Their roots are built to dry out completely between drinks. That drying cycle isn't a hardship for these plants. It's a requirement, wired in by millions of years of evolution. Utah State University Extension guidance on growing these herbs is blunt about it. They demand well-drained soil, and constantly wet roots invite root rot. Inside a wicking bed, the moisture never stops arriving. The roots slowly suffocate, fungal rot moves in, and the plant declines over weeks while everything around it flourishes. Garlic fares even worse. A garlic crop means a bulb sitting in the ground for 8 or 9 months, autumn through midsummer. In permanently damp soil, that isn't a growing season. That's a rot incubator. Onions and shallots run the same gauntlet because the whole allium family wants soil that dries down, especially as harvest approaches. The gardens that get this right treat the wicking bed as a specialist, not a generalist. Inside it, the moisture lovers reign. Leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, and kale. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, and celery, which is practically a water plant. And basil, the one herb that genuinely adores wet feet. The Mediterranean crew and the garlic live elsewhere, in ordinary free-draining raised beds or simple terracotta pots of gritty, sandy mix. Terracotta even breathes moisture out through its walls, which those hillside herbs love. No single bed is perfect for everything. Knowing which plant belongs in which system is what separates a gardener from a bed owner. And with that, the hidden world inside a wicking bed comes into focus. Light, porous soil, so water can climb. 12 inches of depth and no more, because gravity always collects its tax. An overflow pipe, so a rainstorm can't drown the roots overnight. A regular flush, so salt never conquers the surface. And the right plants in the right bed, because constant moisture is a gift to lettuce and a death sentence to rosemary. Which of these 5 surprised you most? Drop the number in the comments, 1 through 5. Smart Money says number 5, though the 12-inch physics limit fools plenty of people too. Every comment down there gets read. The next episode is the one this entire series has been building toward. The perfect wicking bed soil mix. The exact recipe, the ratios, and the cheap substitutions that make capillary action sing. Subscribe so it does not slip past, and see you in the garden.